pressed against her lips. Lu Jinian gently stroked them twice. Just when he was going to open her mouth with his tongue, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. He raised his head and made an apologetic gesture to the director on the sidelines. "Sorry, we didn't grasp the feeling in this one. Let's go again." The director nodded and signaled for the staff members to prepare the set. Even though Lu Jinian filmed with Qiao and Hao, the two of them didn't interact beyond reading their lines. Without cameras on, they rarely spoke. Lu Jinian got up from Qiao and Hao, and as he was supposed to leave, he bizarrely turned to Qiao and Hao, who was sitting up on the sofa. "Later, when we start rolling, I'll look at you, and you remember to look back at me." The script clearly said that the two of us should look at each other. Of course Qiao and Hao knew she had to look at him, but when they looked at each other, her eyes always wandered. She was obviously too afraid to look into his eyes. When he suddenly pointed this out, her face grew a little red. She nodded and let out a low millimeters. Lu Jinian didn't say another word and just turned to leave. There were already too many NGs for this scene, and so when they started to reshoot, the director impatiently repeated from the top the things they had to be aware of. By the end, he even had a word with Qiao and Hao. "Xiao Qiao, don't be too nervous. Relax a little." This was a signal for them to start reshooting. In the lavish villa, the lights shone dimly on Qiao and Hao as she quietly watched the TV. When she heard a sound from the door, she quietly turned her head. Seeing that it was Lu Jinian drunkenly walking into the house, she shot up to greet him. She supported him over to the sofa. Following the scene in the script, she went over to pour a cup of water when he suddenly grabbed her by the wrist. This time, the force Lu Jinian used to grab her wrist was different to the previous NGS. It was a little stronger, like the strength you'd use to grab onto something you wanted. Qiao and Hao was startled. When her body fell onto the sofa, Lu Jinian pushed her down with his body on top. He stared into her eyes. When their eyes met, Qiao and Hao subconsciously wanted to divert her gaze away, but then she remembered what Lu Jinian had said to her after the last NG. And so, she forced her eyes not to wander but stare right back at Lu Jinian, completely aligned. His eyes were beautiful and dark, seemingly never-ending. Despite how hard he tried to hide his cold demeanor, he still gave off a distant feeling.